Welcome to Adding Value, the show for property owners facing the big decision. Sell as is or add value for a better return on investment. To find the answers, it's our resident auctioneer Barnsey from Auction Outcomes and our man from the Renovation team, James Gorin.
Well, James, here we are again at Adding Value. Another week, another renovation, and it seems to be an interesting one today because it is similar but dissimilar to the previous one, because we had a look at the photos of this property and it looked incredibly livable, looked nice as it was. So today we're looking at a property investor who's looking to get a bigger return from their property. Some people would look at a one bedroom unit as it is and say, well, there's not a lot I can really do here, but it appears from the renovations team's point of view and what you've done is that you've taken a property that's incredibly livable, and people would say just leave it as it is and work it out.
Yes.
But they've taken, the leap of faith of saying, no, we can do more with this 50 square metre unit. I mean, it's in a lovely area of Nile Road in Milford, opposite the hospital there. So, position again is great. And so, James, do you want to take us through the project and how you were able to add the value that you did to this particular project?
Yeah, sure thing. So we met the customer. They have purchased this property. So those guys are investor properties. And this is the first investment property that they have purchased. And the idea was not just buying anything and call it an investment property, is to add value from day one. And what's interesting about it, because the size was good enough, it was definitely livable. Most people would just buy it and leave it as it is. But it's always much more fun and profitable for investment point of view, and also to bring a good quality property to the market, to the rental market, because there's just too many of those really rundown properties that people are renting, and I'm not impressed by it. So bringing a nice, good quality property to the market that it's more usable, better utilized, and in a great location, that's always a bonus. And it's a win-win for the investors and for the tenants.
A quality property attracts quality renters, and that's what you want. And
exactly.
I mean, being a property investor these days is sometimes something you probably don't mention at the barbecue sometimes, because they're being sort of ostracised, and some of the changes that are happening in the market. I mean, they're no longer going to be able to retire those tax credits, so that's a concern for some people. But if they can add value and then they can get a better return.
Actually, you can actually think creative and think of, so we have those limitations. How can we work with this, and how can we win this, and how we can go forward? So what you need to think about is, in my view, and that's what I do as a property investor, instead of think about, tax deduction and all those claims back, I actually think of how can I create more value and more rental. Why not focusing on actually how to create more income, and that will offset any of loss of tax
credits, absolutely.
Tax credit, because if you generate more and more income and you can't claim the interest on the loan, that will offset it. So instead of you can't claim say $4,000 or $5,000 per year, what about if you gain another $7,000 in rental, doing it all nice and perfectly and legit because you have a better property? So this is another twist that I think that's going to work really well, especially in today's market, and improving the rentability and the rent and the property. It's definitely going to give more gain to the property investors.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that and I just see everybody winning, because A tenant's getting a better property.
Exactly.
B, there's another bedroom, so that's another person with a roof over their head.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be a particularly large bedroom, so the rent's going to be quite affordable, but it's also going to add value to the investor's portfolio. And then, as you've said, negate the cost, not the cost, but the tax credits that they would have received in the past that they're no longer going to receive.
Yeah.
But, and we're going to talk about numbers later, and the indicative ones you showed me, well, that's going to not equal what they've lost. They're actually going to be going forward and making more money.
So what's wrong with that picture?
No, that's a great picture. The rules are the rules, and the people running the country make them. You just got to take it and move on. So
eventually it's always do it once, do it right, nothing awkward. That's the magic.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, James. I appreciate your time. We're going to have a little catch up with the owners.
Good.
And see how they felt the project went, and the kind of concerns and apprehensions, which there always is when you're buying and renovating. So, and we'll catch up with you later. Thank you, James. And now we're going to have a chat to Shay, the owner, who embarked on this renovation with the renovation team.
Hi Dale, thanks for having me.
So Shay, what was the pathway of getting a property in Milford?
So it wasn't easy. We knew we wanted to go into the property ladder. We already had our own family home, and we wanted to get our first investment property. We had a pre-approval, we started searching. Obviously it took a few months of looking into properties, open homes, a lot of weekends. But once we found that one, we knew that's the right property for us.
So I detect a bit of an accent there, Shay. How long have you been in New Zealand?
I came to New Zealand 4 years ago with my family, my wife and 2 kids, and we've been living here ever since and loving it.
Great. And you're on the shore yourselves? Your other property, your family home?
Yeah, we have our family home on the shore as well. We really love that area, and that's part of the reason we were searching in that area as well.
So what made you pick New Zealand, Shay? Because there's lots of other places. There's that place called Australia, but...
I think it's a pretty clear answer. Even before COVID, it's definitely one of the best places to raise kids. If you have little kids running around, lots of different reasons, like the work-life balance. We love the rhythm, the culture, and the people here. So we felt really connected to New Zealand.
Property is a good investment, obviously, in the current environment, and has been for many years in New Zealand. But there's a stock market. There's bonds that you could have put your money into. Did you just feel more comfortable with real estate, or what drove you towards that as the type of investment?
I felt like I needed something for the long run, for multiple years. The stock market can go up and down. It's very unstable, and it gets affected from different reasons. We wanted something stable that we can have for 10, 20, 30 years to kind of secure our future and benefit us and our children as well. We had a general idea of what we're looking for. Obviously, we had a budget as well. So we knew we were looking for a 1-bedroom kind of home or unit. We knew we wanted to be solid brick and tile, and potentially we were looking for something that can be converted to add another room or to add some value to it. We didn't know we were going to buy in Milford necessarily. We were looking for places in Auckland Central as well, but we knew we wanted to have a good suburb with good schools, and this one specifically has the North Shore Hospital as well, right nearby. So we really loved the location, and it kind of fitted the budget and everything we were looking for.
And the method of sale when you purchased it, was it an auction? Was it a tender or negotiation? Or?
That's an interesting story. It was actually a negotiation, but the house was put on the market a day before we went to lockdown. So we were just able to see it online with photos, but we couldn't get inside physically. So we were back and forth with the owner, kind of chasing them up, and even putting in an offer before we even saw the property. But during the negotiation, we went back to level 2, and then we were able to get into the property and see it with our own eyes. And right after that, the offer was accepted. But if you know what you're looking for and you've done your research, I think there's always a risk, right? But you need to take that into consideration, and we did that, and I'm really happy with the result.
Yeah, I think you did right. Research is the one, and people going and looking at open homes ain't a lot of fun, especially if you've got 2 young ones, getting them in and out of the car and things, or swapping. One goes in, one parent comes in, one goes out. It gets really quite taxing. But sometimes you've got to see 20, 30 properties to know this is the one, this is good value, we're going to make an offer. It looked in pretty good condition, it wasn't run down at all. Some of the previous shows we've had, there's been nothing short of horror pictures. But so what led you to think we're going to buy this and we're not going to rent it just as is? Because a lot of people would just want to buy it and immediately get a tenant in and get the money flowing. But you chose the brave thing to try and buy it, which you did, and then introduce a renovation to the mix. There was obviously some reasons behind that. Do you want to share those with us?
Yeah, definitely. I agree that we could have just rented it as is, But we did know we wanted to add some value to the house and get some equity out of it as well. And obviously, if we can rent it with a higher price per week, then it's probably worth it. So we did save some budget aside for that. We had the estimation. We brought in James to have a look at the property. He was able to give us a rough estimation, so we knew what we're dealing with when we got into it. It's a numbers game, and if the numbers work, then it's worth it. So we took a look at the numbers. We had our estimations, and it all works out at the end.
Thanks, Shay. Appreciate your time. We're going to take a few moments now, and then we're going to talk to Ross, our in-house designer, and he's going to take us through how a one-bedroom apartment was reconfigured to get that second bedroom and to allow for a bigger yield in that rent. Well, Ross, welcome back to Adding Value. Good to have you here. What have we got on our plate today?
What we've got is a little 50 square metre unit.
A small one.
Little tiny one, and it was a little one bedroom. It's been made into a 2-bedroom, pull everything out and putting it all back together. Moved kitchen, bathroom, that sort of thing, put a new bedroom into the bathroom. It's ended up a real nice, tidy little unit. 50
square metres, that's pretty much on the limit of where the banks start to get nervous on lending. Adding another bedroom to it would be, advantageous financially, but, you really have to think long and hard about how you do that. So, and we talk about this all the time, Ross, it's a compromise. But, with 50 square metres, you're going to have your thinking cap on. And
There was a lot of compromise. Bathroom's been moved, put in behind the kitchen, new kitchen put in, open plan, turned the bathroom into a bedroom. It's actually turned out to be a real tidy little unit.
So, this is a property in Nile Road, Milford, and it's one of 6 units. And it doesn't look too dissimilar to your standard kind of 6 brick and tile units, etc. Back in the day, they just put one bedroom because that's all they really needed, and they wanted to have as much space in the living as they could. But as we know, you can't really have a flatmate living in your living room. Well, you can, but it's not advantageous. But it's better to have that other small bedroom, and that other small bedroom might be for a small child, could be solo parent, etc. But it's interesting. Back in the day, they literally didn't stop and think too much about where the best use of space is, and now they're all being sort of reconfigured. And I think a lot of people would be quite taken back as to what you can do, even with 50 square metres, because what we've seen with James and the renovation team and yourself, it's a pretty good use of space. And yes, it's a small bedroom, but it's still a bedroom. So Ross, are you seeing a lot of people looking at these older style houses from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and then wanting to reconfigure them to maximise the space?
Yes, I am getting a lot more inquiries of this type of modification, alterations, that sort of thing. Doing up these older homes and making them into something a little bit more nicer and livable. Definitely the older homes and that sort of thing, the fashions change, how people are living are changing, that sort of thing. Especially when you get ones like this that are very much in the hub of prime suburbs. They don't need to cook a lot at home and that sort of thing.
No.
They're eating out a lot more, doing a lot more outside activities.
Yeah, people's lives have completely changed, and a lot of people spend a lot of time at work. And someone mentioned about this property just recently to me that yes, it's a small second bedroom, but it's also an excellent work from home office, and that's a big part of everybody's life in today's world. So whether it's for the teenager, the small child, or just a student that you can, or a flatmate where you can help pay for the mortgage. I think some people who will be sitting in their one bedroom brick and tiles, which there's tons of them out there in the market, from Mount Roskill to the shore to West Auckland, in the inner city suburbs, they'll be sitting there going, how much would another bedroom cost me? And then, would it add value? I believe it would. And what would the rent be? Or maybe it's for the grandchildren to come and stay.
Yeah.
Who knows? So Ross, if somebody sees this show and goes, hang on, that looks similar to my property, what could I achieve? You're more than happy to take a phone call from somebody?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Take a phone call, give them a little bit of advice. It's a little bit hard to see what they're wanting to do over the phone, but we do go out and have a look as well.
And it's not expensive to get some concept plans, just, brief sort of notes as to I'm looking at your property and this is where I think you could do this and that. If they love it, then they can press forward. If they don't, they haven't spent a ton of money.
No, definitely. That's where you're better off to start off with, is a little sketch. Give them a couple of options. Like this one here, there was a few options, and they chose option 2. And it's very easy to do that. At least they can then visualise.
Can you give it to us?
4422666.
That's pretty easy. Do you want to give that again?
4422666.
Well, thank you, Ross. And you've heard his number twice. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find out what could be achieved, take down that number, give Ross a call, and he'll pop out, or just have an informal chat and see what could be achieved at your property. Thanks. Thanks, Ross, and appreciate your time. And now it's time to check in with James Goran from the renovation team, because it's renovation time. We had a great chat with the owner of the Nile Road property, and they were really happy. How did the project run? And was there any nuances, which there always are? I mean, small property that was in good condition, but you were still able to transform it to something, take it to the next level.
The project was good, was interesting. We started with a big demolition. We took everything apart. The biggest part was a big supporting wall that we need to remove. So that's always a bit tricky, because you kind of need to support the roof before you're going to remove the wall.
Remove the wall, yeah.
So we had the anchor pops and supporting beams temporarily. We needed to remove the supporting wall. We need to cut the roof pretty much in half and put a beam that will go into the roof. Okay. That also requires, because you need to support it all the way into the ground. So we needed to go under the floor, and between the floor and the ground was just this much. Very challenging, small space to work with, so the guys need to work around it.
And you required consent for that?
Of course, so the whole thing went, so consent was a bit, it goes by 5 different inspections. Was a bit more challenging with the lockdowns and booking times and meetings.
Yeah, it would have been difficult. But I mean, the thing with these renovations, if it requires consent, people, you just have to get bending the rules, and thinking near enough is good enough is only going to not add value, it's going to devalue your property.
In the bathrooms, we have removed the bath, because the bath is really not necessary, and we put a nice, good size shower. And of course, a toilet, very fancy vanity, LED mirror, that is my...
Yeah, that's your signature.
A little bit of that, yeah, so it looks very nice and bling bling, and so very, very nice practical bathrooms that the owner is super thrilled with.
I must admit, when I'm ever in a bathroom that you've done, I always feel like I'm in a hotel. Well, welcome back, Shay. We've had a good chat with James from the renovation team, and looking at the photos and chatting to him, it looked like it was a pretty amazing renovation. And we discussed that the property was good enough to be rented as it was, but certainly it's taken it to another level. And getting that additional bedroom is obviously going to help with the yield and the rent. So how did you feel through the whole process? Because it is, even though if you're in the hands of somebody who's done a lot of renovations, it's a scary thing to do, because there's always the pull down the wall and go, oof, didn't think that was going to be there. How did you find the whole process?
So there's always doubts and concerns as part of this process.
Human nature.
Yeah, I think James went above and beyond, keeping us reassured, keeping us involved in the details as well for, the things that we need to know, sending photos and videos online every day. So it was really reassuring. Plus, we felt like we were in the hand of a professional. He's done that many times in the past. He knows exactly what needs to be done. We had the whole plan mapped for us from day one, so we knew exactly what to expect, and he made sure to keep us informed when things change.
I think communications is key, because obviously you can't be walking around a building site, but if James is there with his phone, he's able to flick you a quick video or an update of what's going on, you feel like you're part of the process rather than sitting on the sidelines. Which
right. And I didn't feel like I need to bug him with questions. He kind of pushes information once things are done according to the stages and according to the plan. So it made us feel very confident.
So how did you and your family feel when you walked through the front door and it was 100% finished?
So we took the kids the first time once it was ready with James to walk around. So I remember it till this day, it's very vivid. We walked through the front door with the kids. They were super excited. We had a box of chocolate waiting on the bench from James and the team. We were all very excited with the kids running around, looking at stuff. It's all brand new, white, all the appliances are there. It was a really great feeling.
You always get the feeling that you're almost like in a brand new apartment when James does one of those sort of renovations on a property like that.
Yeah, we
You
kind
feel
of
like-
we kind of felt like we want to move in there.
Obviously, then the next task after you'd gone and seen what James had done and you'd converted it to a 2-bedroom, how long did it take to rent that property?
It was fairly quick. With this type of location and a newly renovated property, that was pretty easy. We had just 1 or 2 weekends of open homes, and then we had a few applications. We selected our favorite one, and a couple of weeks after that, we had a tenant inside.
So was it a young couple or a family or?
It's a couple, yeah,
Okay.
a young couple working in the area, so it was comfortable for them, and they obviously enjoy walking into a newly renovated place.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, you know, the good news for New Zealand is that as an investor, you bought a property that was able to be rented, but you created a 2-bedroom house. So that's another bedroom and another person that can be living under a roof. And, you know, because supply is at a low level and New Zealand needs to build more houses. And, you know, we say we need to build more, maybe we just need to reconfigure some more,
Yeah,
like
true.
you have. Well done. You could have rented it as is, easily, I would imagine, with the 1-bedroom. But what was the rent for the 1-bedroom assessed at?
So beforehand, it was something around 380, 400 max per
Yep.
week. And after the renovation with the added bedroom, we were able to get 550 per week.
It's quite a difference, you know, and that will obviously cover the additional renovation costs that you incurred with James. And yeah, and 2 bedrooms certainly rents a lot faster than 1. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a market there for 1 bedroom, but 2 bedroom, you know, suits a lot more people. So Shay, this has gone super well for you. You've done your research, you got an expert in, and you know, when you listen to the experts, things tend to go well. What's the next step in your property investment?
Yeah, it got us to want some more, and we're doing our research again, back to square one from the start, and hopefully we'll be able to have another one soon.
Well, I think when you get a really good recipe, it's just rinse and repeat. And you know, when you've got it there and you can take a 1-bedroom and make it 2, that's an additional supply to the market. Yeah, absolutely. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
So James, what a great response from the owner of the property in Nile. They were really chuffed, and it looked fantastic. It had a great feel and finish. You added the bedroom, you got a better flow. We spoke about that earlier. But you know, that's all very nice and all very lovely. But you know, where did the numbers fall?
Property investment is all about the numbers. The numbers needs to shine.
Yes.
So this property have been purchased by the owner kind of close to end of last year for 540,000.
540.
540. The total project cost was 69,000, and that's including city council, architects, renovation, and
Everything.
the whole lot. Yeah,
Yep.
69. That's pretty good. The new valuation that they have got is actually 750.
And that's a registered valuation.
Yeah, so
Wow.
from 540 to 750. So that's
That's a
like
jump.
that's like a really nice jump, because now we don't have like a kind of a rundown 1-bedroom unit dark in the middle of Milford. We have like a brand new unit, 2 bedrooms, very nice and shiny, very elegant in the middle
Absolutely.
of Milford. That is very appealing to doctors, nurses, and many people that work in the area. The interesting thing about that is that the net increase in equity is 141,000. Wow. So take away the renovation cost, project cost, and all of that. So they have actually gained another 141,000, and that's like an amazing numbers in less than 2 months. Really outstanding. It's pretty much increased the value of the property by 38%. Now, here's the amazing part. It's not just about the equity, but it's about the cash flow. Now, the cash flow on this property has been significantly improved, because when they bought this property, it was actually from another investor,
Okay.
and he was renting it out, and the rent was $375 per week.
Yeah,
$375 per week. Now, as coming back to the market,
Yep.
as a 2-bedroom, it's been rented. It took like 1 week for it to be rented,
No, it
and now
doesn't
it's been
surprise
rented
me.
for 550.
550.
550, and there were people queuing, and it could almost go into an auction, because people were like almost like fighting to get this property. So, of course, that the customer have chosen the best ones,
Yes.
the one that feels and looks great here. But 550, so that's an increase of $175 per week.
Per week.
Per week.
So that's going to wash away any of the interest that they can't defer.
Exactly.
And, you know, Jacinda and Grant Robinson, you know, they'll be happy because they've got that, and your customer will be happy.
Yeah, so the rent have actually increased by percentage-wise, because it's all about the numbers.
Yes, it is.
47%.
47.
47%.
See, this is where, you know, property investors and people that have a few need to pick up the phone and call you and just add this existing value, because it's not only get you a better grade of tenant, it gets you a better grade of rent, and it makes it desirable, because I certainly got the feeling inside that property that I was in an apartment. I didn't feel like I was in a brick and tile 6-unit. I felt like I was in Pacifica at the bottom of Queen Street, and it, you know, no wonder they were queuing up.
So the thing is, like, when from property investor point of view, is that every year property investors are, you know, kind of increasing the rent by about 2 to 3% because of the increase of expenses in the market. That actually gives you about like 10 years of being in the market to actually catch that.
Absolutely.
So it's 10 years time, in 2 months time. Why doesn't everyone doing it?
and you know what? I don't think anybody would be complaining about the 550, because they're living in a spectacular, fully renovated, 2-bedroom, gorgeous property in Milford, and, you know, versus bemoaning, they're feeling fortunate to being there. And, you know, we spoke earlier, it's another bedroom, it's another roof over somebody's head. So there's an increase in their rent and their return. Somebody else gets a bedroom. It's just a complete win-win.
Totally.
Well done, James. Another great renovation, another happy customer, and I'm sure their bank manager will be very happy with those numbers as well.
Yep, the bank is happy.
Sensational. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
No worries.